The sweet sound of nature in the suburbs. All right, folks. Now I want you to know, we usually don't have this many vehicle problems. What we're doing is we're trying to get all of our vehicles in tip-top shape. So far that hasn't happened. But my truck has another problem. But really it's another solution to a problem, because I figured out what the problem is. So whenever you have something going wrong and then you find what's wrong, that's really a good thing, isn't it? It's not necessarily a bad thing. So right here at the beginning, if you like the channel, make sure to give us a thumbs up. People haven't been doing that. And subscribe to us if you like stuff like this. So this is an 83 Chevy C10. It's been giving me hell. So lately it hasn't been driving right, fuel related type stuff. So I thought maybe it's the carburetor. I've been adjusting the carburetor and the set screws on the idle. We're trying to get my other truck running with a rebuild engine so that I can then swap the engine in this truck and rebuild this engine. But we haven't got there yet. So I'm still, this one has a bad exhaust leak and a cylinder acting up. You can see all of that oil on that number 4 exhaust there. We got some issues, people. But I'm trying to limp this one along until I can start driving my other one. But here's the problem. This one has been giving me trouble going up hills, accelerating up hills. And so I've been trying to figure out what the hell. So I've adjusted the carburetor, leaner, richer, back and forth. I finally used a vacuum gauge to set it, and I think I've got the carburetor set right. It's an Edelbrock. So it's an Edelbrock 1406. So I'm looking at it, and this has been going on for like 3 weeks. Okay, so I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, you know, the fuel filter doesn't seem right. So I've got this little glass fuel filter, which is pretty cool because you can see the fuel in it. I don't know how. There you go. Look at this. See how there's hardly any fuel in that thing? It's got like it's about a fifth full. So if you watch it when it's running, which you won't be able to see yet, whenever it's running, it'll squirt fuel in, and then it won't be all that much, and then it'll squirt fuel in again. So I think what it is it's every time the engine goes around one full rev or something, or maybe it's less than that, I don't know. But anyway, it's spurting it in there, and it ain't very good. So we're not getting a good flow. So I'm looking yesterday to make sure that when it goes up into the carburetor, there's not a filter that's clogged. It's not. There's no filter up there. It's just this one filter. I took that filter apart and cleaned it. It's fine. It wasn't dirty. So what could be the problem? Well, next you got to go down to the fuel pump. So then I noticed, while the thing was sitting here running, that my fuel pump, which is hanging right there on the side of the engine, was spraying fuel all over this damn motor mount. If you look, it's kind of hard to see, but next to the filter there, that motor mount is really clean. It's because its fuel's been sprayed all over it. So it's ate all of the grease and oil and paint and everything off of it. And I don't mean like a little bit, I mean like a squirt gun, man. I mean, it's spraying out a lot of fuel. So I don't know if it's the actual fuel pump or the hose. So I get down under it, and the hose coming from the gas tank is a steel line, and then it gets up here to the front and it turns into a rubber hose for about a foot there. And that hose was on the fuel pump, but the clamp was not on the tit of the fuel pump. Yes, I said tit. Deal with it. What it should be called, the nipple, if you like that better. The clamp was not on the nipple of the fuel pump. It was just behind it. So I mean, you could just pull the hose off. Well, that's not right. And then the end of the hose was all swollen up. So I'm at work and it's pretty late, so I'm getting ready to drive home, and I have to drive it home like that. So as I'm driving, it's spraying fuel all over the place. Well, it's apparently been doing this for 3 weeks, and I didn't know it. Now, there's the fuel, there's the exhaust manifold. If you get gas really hot, what happens? It doesn't even burn, does it? It explodes. So this could have been really bad. So I drove it home last night, still spraying fuel all over the place. Now I don't know how much worse it is now than it was, but as I was driving home, it was driving the way it's been driving for a couple weeks, spitting and spurting, and it isn't quite right. So basically, if you're just barely in the gas, you're fine. But if you're really getting on it, it's driving like crap. So that's where we're at right now. So that hose is the first thing that I need to check, because I think it's leaking from the hose, I hope. But it could be that the actual fuel pump is leaking inside internally. If it is, I'll have to replace that, which is, it appears it's only a couple bolts, 3 hoses. I think they're like $20. It's not much to it. So these pumps have like a diaphragm inside of them, and it may be that it's failed internally. It's still halfway working though, so I can drive it. I can't drive it at a fast acceleration. And there are, from what I understand, there's a couple weep holes on some of them that can leak. But man, this thing was spraying, and that hose is really loose and swollen and everything. So I'm hoping it's the hose. So we're gonna replace it. If you saw my other video where I was working on the power steering pump, I have a 3/8 hose. No, it has not been laying there for 3 weeks. I have a 3/8 hose. This is fuel safe, so this is what I'm going to replace it with. I already got it. It's not even going to cost me anything. Isn't that great? So I'm going to see if I've got some new clamps. I think I do. And then we'll crawl under there and swap that little hose real quick, and see if that stops the leak. All right, folks. I'm not going to be able to take much video while I'm actually doing it because there's grease all over everything. That larger hose there is the one. That thing will just pull right off. I was able to get the clamp up farther on it, but it ain't right. And it only runs back like 8 inches, something like that. So I'm gonna swap that. It's gonna dump a little bit of fuel, but not a ton. And we'll see what we got after that. Look at this thing. It's got leaks all over it. Look at the oil it's leaking. Look at this. All right. So we got to stop it from leaking gas, though. Not only is it money, it could blow up. Where am I? What the hell am I looking at? I've lost the fuel pump. There it is. All right. So yeah, we're going to replace that bigger hose. All right, folks. Now, here is the old one. So this was the part that goes to the actual fuel line coming from the tank. And this was where it was going into the fuel pump. It's so bright out, I can't get it to focus really. I would like to show you that part. Work with me, Annie. There you go. Look how it's all blown out and everything. This clamp, they had way down here. The nipple comes to here. The clamp was like outside of the nipple. You could just pull it off and push it back on. So I'm hoping, so I moved the clamp up last night, but it was still spraying all over the place. So I'm hoping it's just that hose. Now I have excellent news for y'all, okay? You're gonna love this. I have such great news. The great news is, now that I've taken the old one off, I can put the new one back on from the top. See the hose there? And then there's the other one. Look at that. I mean, maybe you're not as psyched about it as I am, but I'm pretty happy about this. All right, I got the new hose on. Look at that. Beautiful. Look at that. Look at that beautiful new hose on there. Really not that big of a deal. So now I'm going to start it and see if it's still leaking. If it's still leaking, I still have to drive it to the parts store. So I'll drive it up to the parts store and buy a new pump. They're 20 bucks. They're very easy to change. There's 2 bolts and there's 3 lines, and you can get all of them from the top. Now the only thing I'm worried about is there is a arm that goes in there that I guess the cam pushes up or something. I guess it can't be the cam. There must be something like a rod or something that does it. But anyway, I'll call Donnie and ask him about that before I swap it, if I have to swap it. But hopefully it's going to work fine. We're going to start it and then we'll see. All right, we're looking for leaks. Looking for leaks. Come on. on, baby. We don't need you to leak. Our fuel filter. Not getting all that much fuel up there, but I don't see the leak. Yep, still leaking. Damn it. Look to the left of the filter. See it? Okay, so the left side of the filter is still leaking, so that, I mean of the pump, I'm sorry. The left side of the pump is still leaking, so I'm gonna have to replace the fuel pump, but it'll be pretty easy. So I've actually got a fire extinguisher with me in case something happens, but I think it's been doing this for 3 weeks with no problems, but we'll see what happens. I'm gonna drive to the store and get a fuel pump, and then we'll pop it on. All right. It actually drives decent if you don't have to really get into it. Like I'm barely in it, you know. RPMs are probably less than 2,000 or so right now, and it drives fine. But the problem is when you're accelerating. So basically, the bowl is filling up on the carburetor, I guess, right now because I'm not really in it, and so I've got a little bit of juice whenever I need to go up like a little bit of an incline. Or even if it's a steep hill, as long as it's not too long, too far. But once you really got to get into it for a while, it starts bogging down because it's choking out. It doesn't have enough fuel. So we'll keep going. Hopefully, we get to the parts house and get us a fuel pump, and then I can make it to the shop and I can change the damn thing out in the street. Made in China. That's all they had though. Okay folks, I took the 3 hoses off, or the 2 hoses in the line, and there is a trick according to Donnie. Here's the trick. To the right of the pump there is a bolt. I don't know if we can see it from here. Where can we see it? See it? Right in the center of your screen, there's a hole there. There is a bolt that goes in that, a 9/16 head bolt. And that bolt, apparently, if you take that bolt out, if there's no bolt there, you'll have an oil leak, but if you take that bolt out, you can put a longer bolt in, or even just a screwdriver or something, and it will touch the rod that we're talking about on the fuel pump, the rod that the fuel pump pushes up. If you put that bolt in, it will hold it in place, and the rod will not drop down. So the rod comes from the top actually and pushes on the arm of the fuel pump, and so that rod will stay in place if you put a bolt in that hole. So I'm going to see if I can find one long enough to go up in there and grab it. Okay, so here is the bolt off the front that I was talking about. This just hangs in there all the time. This is a 9/16 head. I don't know what thread that would be. So you take this out, and then look at this. This is the bolt that holds in the fuel pump. It's a 7/16 head, but it's actually the same thread as the bolt in the front. So you know what that means. If you take out one of the bolts that holds on the fuel pump and put it in the front before you take the other bolt off the fuel pump, it will go in far enough to grab that rod. So you're basically pushing up against the side of the rod, and if you give it just a little bit of friction, you don't want to go crazy because you might bend it or something. But you just put it in there until it gets snug it up a little bit, and it'll hold the rod in place while you take the fuel pump out with the other bolt, put that new one back on, the new one bolt in, and then take this one back out and put it back in your fuel. Man, At least that's the theory. You think it'll actually work? I think it might. Okay, so now for all of you people that got your feathers ruffled whenever I said China, here's China. The bolts do not fit the new fuel pump. So this is correct, I'm sure, for some model of something. But the bolts I was just talking about will not go in the new fuel pump. I saw 2 reviews online where a guy mentioned that, and then everybody else acted like theirs was fine. So I don't know if it's a quality control issue or if they just, you know, it's a slightly different mount on a newer version that uses metric or something. But I'm working on an older engine. This is the one they told me that fit. It does not fit. The bolts will not go through the holes to mount it. This is the crap I'm talking about. Made in China. If it says made in China, that means shit. That's what it says. And you have these companies like Delphi, which is an American company that makes the shit in China, and it's a piece of shit. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit. So now I'm going to get a drill, and I'm going to try to drill holes bigger in the brand new freaking part that I bought. Okay, folks, I'm going to try to do the rest of China's job for them with this drill bit and make those holes bigger so the bolts can fit in. By the way, the bolt I took out of the block threads right in the hole in the front. They're the exact same size thread pitch. So, by the way, just to clarify, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying go America, although I am saying go America. If it was an American part, it would have fit right on. I know we have a lot of international viewers, okay? If that part would have said made in Mexico, it would have bolted right on and worked fine. If it said made in America, it would have worked fine. Right? If it said made in Italy, it would have worked fine and made the truck go faster somehow. If it said made in Taiwan, it would have worked fine. If it said made in Japan, it would have worked fine. It says made in China. You know before you even use it, it's screwed up. Alright, it's an aluminum housing. Luckily it wasn't that hard to drill through it, but really, you know, Delphi ought to be ashamed of themselves for that crap. Come on, man. Move to India. Make the parts in India. There won't be any more problems. Okay, folks, I have my screw in down there. See it? Zoom you in. See it? It sticks out a little bit, but it's snugged up because it's holding it's holding that rod like we want it to. So that should do it. So now I've got one bolt, of course, out of the fuel pump. We're going to take the other one out, and then we'll see what that old fuel pump looks like and see if it's anywhere like this new high quality one that we got from Delphi. Okay, folks, so this is the old one, obviously. You can see as it was mounted in the engine was like this. What we were seeing spray out of it was coming out of these 2 weep holes here. So there was something wrong with the diaphragm in there or something. And then I can't find a model number on it or a manufacturer, so I don't know who made this one. And then on our new one, I just want to show you, just so everybody doesn't think I'm trying to pull a hoodoo. I would never pull a hoodoo, people. Here's my drilled holes. You saw the scrap I took out. Here's one of the full-length bolts. Okay. Look how tight that is, and that's after I drilled it. Let me get you some focus, maybe. Come on with the focus. There we go. This is after I drilled it, right? See how tight that is? There's no way in hell. Just so you know, that I wasn't switching around and using that small bolt. Right? I saw 2 people online complain about it. That's why I checked it first. So I'm gonna go tell Delphi that they're screwing up. Now I'm sure there's a good explanation. I'm sure the explanation is that, oh, they make the other one. This is just the metric one for the later ones, and they make the other one. It's just the parts store screwed it up. Well, I looked at 3 different parts stores because I was trying to find anybody that had something that wasn't made in China that had it in stock. And several places had this same exact part, and they were all listed as fitting this truck, and they do not fit this truck. So But you know what? It does now because we fixed it. So I'm going to pop it back in. We're going to put the gasket on it, put some gasket maker on it, pop it back in, and see if we can get this snug up. Okay, folks, so you can see that rod. See it sticking? That's the end of it you're looking at there. You can see the bolt in the side of the block there. It's literally, I guess that's the reason the hole's there. There's nothing in it but that bolt. So anyway, unfortunately, I've stopped the engine just at random, and it's where the cam is pushing the rod down pretty good. So when I put it in there, I'm going to have to hook it. Hook it, boy, hook it, as Jerry Reed would say. I'm going to have to hook it underneath that rod so that it can push down on the lever. If I were to have stopped at like top dead center on the #1 cylinder, that rod would be way up in there another 1.5 inches or something. But hey, you know what? We're gonna make do with it. All right, folks, we got it on there. Ain't it looking good? Starting to get a little dark. It's about 7:30 at night. I got the front bolt back in. I got those 2 bolts back in. I got all 3 lines back on, including my new one. So hopefully this thing will work. Now, this is how I see this stuff. It's not a bad thing that this happened. It's a good thing that it happened and I didn't get stranded somewhere, right? And now if this thing works, I won't have any more fuel pump problems. Who knows how long this fuel pump's been screwed up? We don't know yet if it works, but hopefully it will. So what we want, this filter up here is still only about 1/3 of the way full right now. So what we want is, I'm going to start it up, and we want to see beautiful white gas gushing all through that thing, filling that thing up, so that we know that the fuel pump is pumping fuel. So I'm going to start the truck and let's see what we got. And you want to see something beautiful? I'm going to show you something beautiful. Are you ready for it? Saw it earlier. Saw it earlier, people. Saw what it was doing. Don't act like you didn't see. All right, I don't see any leaks. I don't see any leaks, and the fuel filter is full. It's now a full filter. What do you think about that? So give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it. If you got any comments, let us know. Glad we got it fixed. We will see you on the next video. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, what in the world are you waiting on? I'm going to give it a run down the road whenever I leave, and we'll see if my acceleration problem is gone. You know what I think? I think it will be. So leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Tell Donnie I didn't even need him to fix this one. He ain't even going to believe it. I'm going to upload this video without him even knowing and see what he says. But make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to his channel. We have been trying to get more subscribers. We're up over 500, so thank you, folks. We appreciate that. And we will see you on the next video. Let's go drive it. So the whole problem has been you can't accelerate. Also, it wasn't idling great, but now I've got before even the alternator voltage was dropping low. I don't know what that was all about. But let's see if we got a little better acceleration now getting on the interstate. Yeah, baby. It used to cut out and everything. Now, no more problems. Very cool. We fixed it. Who would have thought if your fuel pump's screwed up, you run out of fuel? while accelerating. All right, we're up to 75, so that's good. Everything's cool. Hope you enjoyed the video.